My name is Rebecca Morgan. I'm 29 years old, and exactly 47 minutes after I arrived at my childhood home with 3 suitcases and an eviction notice, I found my key wouldn't turn in the lock. I stood there on the porch at 6:23 p.m. on a Tuesday evening, jiggling the key that had worked perfectly fine just 2 weeks earlier when I'd stopped by to drop off groceries. Behind me, my beat-up Honda Civic sat packed with everything I owned that mattered: clothes, books, my laptop, and a box of photographs I couldn't bear to leave in storage. The October wind cut through my thin jacket as I knocked once, twice, then finally rang the doorbell. My mother opened the door with the chain still attached, her face appearing in the narrow gap. "You can't be here," she said, her voice flat and emotionless. "I changed the locks this morning." "Mom, I called you yesterday," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You said I could stay here while I figured things out. You said family helps family." "That was before I really thought about it," she replied, and I watched her eyes, the same hazel eyes I'd inherited, harden into something I'd never seen directed at me before. "Before I talked to your sister about everything. You made your choices, Rebecca. You're dead to me now." The door closed. Not slammed. That would have required emotion. Just closed, softly and finally, like shutting a book you decided isn't worth finishing. I stood there for exactly 89 seconds according to my phone, waiting for her to change her mind. She didn't. That night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot, wrapped in a beach towel because I couldn't afford to run the heat, and made the decision that would change absolutely everything. Before I explain what happened next, let me know where you're viewing from and hit subscribe if you've ever been the family member who gave everything only to be thrown away like yesterday's trash. To really understand why my mother would lock her own daughter out after claiming for weeks that she'd always be there for me, you'd have to go back exactly 6 years and 3 months to the week I dropped out of law school. Not because I was failing. My GPA was 3.7, and I'd just been selected for a prestigious summer internship. I left because my younger sister, Melissa, had gotten pregnant at 19 with twins, and someone needed to help. Mom had called me crying at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night, her voice breaking as she described how Melissa was having complications, how the babies might come early, how she couldn't afford to take time off work. "I need you," she'd said, and those 3 words had dismantled every plan I'd built for my future. Just for a few months. Just until Melissa gets on her feet. Those few months turned into 6 years. I moved back home to help with the twins, Emma and Ethan, born premature at 32 weeks, requiring round-the-clock care and expensive medical interventions. I took a job as a legal secretary at a small firm, making $32,000 a year instead of the 6-figure salary I'd been on track to earn. I paid for formula, diapers, co-pays for specialist appointments. I got up for 3 a.m. feedings when Melissa was too exhausted or too busy with her on-again, off-again boyfriend Travis to handle it herself. My law school loan sat in deferment, accumulating interest that added $127 to my monthly minimum payment every 6 months. I watched my classmates graduate, pass the bar, start their careers through carefully curated Instagram posts, while I was elbow-deep in dirty diapers and crushing student debt I had nothing to show for. "You're so good with them," Mom would say, watching me rock Ethan back to sleep at 4 a.m. while Melissa slept soundly. Such a natural caretaker. This is what family does. But when I asked Melissa to watch the twins so I could take a Saturday morning LSAT prep course, she'd rolled her eyes and said, "I need self-care time, Rebecca. I'm their mother. I'm exhausted." My best friend from law school, Amanda, saw it clearly during one of our increasingly rare phone calls. "They're using you," she said bluntly. "You've put your entire life on hold, and what are you getting in return?" "They're family," I'd responded automatically. "This is temporary." Except it wasn't temporary. The twins turned 1, then 2, then started kindergarten. Melissa got a job at a clothing boutique, making $13 an hour, and moved into the basement apartment Mom had renovated specifically for her rent-free. When I asked about the same arrangement, I was still sleeping in my childhood bedroom. Mom said Melissa needed the privacy because she was a mother. "You understand, don't you?" Mom had asked. "You're flexible. You don't have responsibilities like she does." The responsibilities I did have, apparently, didn't count. Like the $847.50 I'd been paying monthly to help cover utilities. Or the $200 weekly grocery budget I'd somehow gotten stuck funding. Or the fact that I'd paid for 4 sets of car repairs for Melissa's Jeep Cherokee because the kids need reliable transportation. Over 6 years and 3 months, by my careful calculation, I'd contributed $73,284 to keeping that household running. I kept the receipts in a folder labeled Family Expenses in my desk drawer, not to demand repayment, but because seeing the numbers helped me believe I wasn't imagining the constant drain. The pattern was always the same. Melissa would have a crisis: broken water heater, unexpected vet bill, registration fees for the twins' soccer league, and Mom would call me with that particular tone that mixed guilt and expectation. "I know you're good with budgeting, Rebecca. Could you possibly help out? Just this once." Except it was never just once. It was every month, every emergency, every time Melissa made an impulsive decision. The time she bought a $1,200 purse and couldn't make rent. The time she crashed her car and needed to cover the deductible. The time she threw the twins an elaborate birthday party at an indoor trampoline park that cost $890 because they deserved to feel special. I said yes every time, watching my savings dwindle and my credit card balance creep upward. I said yes because saying no felt like betrayal. What finally broke something fundamental inside me wasn't a single dramatic moment. It was the accumulation of 1,000 small erasures. Like the time I got a promotion at work to senior legal secretary with an $8,000 annual raise, and when I excitedly shared the news at dinner, Mom said, "That's nice, honey," and immediately turned to Melissa to discuss her new boyfriend. Or the time I spent 3 days preparing Thanksgiving dinner, buying all the ingredients myself, and Melissa arrived 2 hours late with gas station wine, complaining the turkey was too dry. The explosion came during a family dinner in September, 1 month before I'd end up locked out entirely. Mom had called the dinner to announce that Melissa was engaged to Marcus, her boyfriend of 7 months, a line cook at a chain restaurant. "We're thinking a spring wedding," Melissa beamed, showing off a diamond ring. "Nothing huge, maybe 150 people. Somewhere elegant." Then Mom turned to me with that particular smile that meant she was about to ask for something significant. "Rebecca, I was hoping you could help cover some of the wedding costs. As my gift to Melissa. You know how important this is." The number she mentioned was $12,000. Venue deposit, catering down payment, dress budget. Enough to wipe out what remained of my savings and max out my credit card. "I can't," I said, the words feeling foreign in my mouth after 6 years of saying yes to everything. "I don't have that kind of money right now." The table went silent. Melissa's face crumpled. Mom's expression shifted from hopeful to cold in seconds. "You have a good job," Mom said, her voice taking on an edge. "You don't have kids, no real expenses. Where is all your money going?" "I've been helping pay for this house for 6 years," I said quietly, feeling something crack inside my chest. "I've been covering groceries, utilities, emergencies. I've been raising Melissa's children while she figures out her life." "That's not fair," Melissa snapped. "You chose to help. Nobody forced you." "You're right," I agreed. "I chose to help, but I'm choosing to stop now." Mom's fork clattered against her plate. "What does that mean?" "It means I can't keep funding everyone else's life while mine falls apart," I said, my voice steadier now. "I'm 29 years old. I'm drowning in law school debt for a degree I never finished. I sleep in a childhood bedroom while working 60-hour weeks. I can't afford to move out because every spare dollar goes to keeping this family afloat." "So you're abandoning us," Mom said, her voice flat and cold. "When we need you most. When your sister is finally getting her life together." "I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just setting boundaries." Melissa stood up abruptly. "You've always been jealous of me. Always. Because Mom loves me more and you can't stand it." "Melissa, I've spent 6 years raising your children. I'm not jealous. I'm exhausted. Get out," Mom said suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension. "If you're going to be selfish, if you're going to throw our love back in our faces, then leave. Now." I left. I gathered my purse, walked out the front door, and drove to my apartment, the studio I'd finally managed to rent 3 months earlier after saving for 2 years. It was 400 square feet, but it was mine. That night, at exactly 11:34 p.m., Mom texted, "I'm sorry I overreacted. Come for dinner Sunday. We can talk. I went, wanting to believe reconciliation was possible. The dinner was normal, uncomfortable but civil. Mom apologized vaguely for getting emotional. Melissa didn't apologize at all. We ate pot roast and pretended the previous week hadn't happened. Over the next 3 weeks, things seemed to stabilize. I still helped occasionally, $1.50 here, babysitting there, but I held firmer boundaries. I said no to the wedding fund contribution. I said no when Melissa asked me to cover her car payment. Then my landlord informed me the building was being sold and I had 30 days to vacate. I panicked, spent 2 weeks frantically searching for affordable apartments, and found nothing I could afford. In desperation, I called Mom. Could I stay with you for a few weeks? Just while I find a new place? Of course, she'd said without hesitation. Family helps family. You know that. I believed her. I packed my belongings, terminated my lease, and showed up at her door with everything I owned. She changed the locks that morning. She'd made the decision, consulted Melissa, called a locksmith, and erased my ability to come home, all before I'd even finished loading my car. Standing in that Walmart parking lot, wrapped in a beach towel and watching my phone battery drain to 8%, I opened my laptop and did something I should have done years earlier. I started documenting everything. Every receipt I'd saved, every Venmo transaction, every text message where Mom or Melissa had asked for money. By 2:47 a.m., I had a spreadsheet that told a story I'd been too close to see clearly. $73,284 over 6 years. An average of $1,021 per month. More than my rent would have been if I'd moved out after law school. Enough to have paid off a substantial chunk of my student loans. Enough to have built a life instead of funding everyone else's. I'd sacrificed my legal career, my savings, my 20s, and my self-respect. And the moment I tried to establish one single boundary, my mother had declared me dead to her. Something fundamental shifted in that moment, sitting in a Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m. with a spreadsheet full of receipts and a heart full of something harder than anger. Clarity. Cold, diamond-hard clarity about exactly who I was dealing with and what needed to happen next. Amanda answered on the second ring when I called her at 7:15 a.m. I need your couch, I said. And I need a lawyer. Not for lawsuits, for advice. Can you help? Absolutely, she said without hesitation. Get over here now. And Rebecca? It's about damn time. I spent the next 4 days on Amanda's couch. Her roommate, Rachel, was a family law attorney who'd seen these dynamics play out 1,000 times. Over coffee and legal pads, she helped me understand exactly what I was dealing with. This is financial exploitation, Rachel explained, reviewing my spreadsheet. Not legally actionable in most cases when it's family, but that doesn't make it any less real. You've been systematically drained, then discarded the moment you stopped being useful. What do? I asked. You protect yourself going forward, she said. Block them. Document everything if they escalate. Don't give them ammunition. And Rebecca, you don't owe them explanations, apologies, or access to you ever again. The first message came 3 days after the lockout. Mom, texting at 6:43 p.m. Melissa said you're telling people I threw you out. That's not what happened. You chose to leave. Stop making me look bad. I didn't respond. The messages escalated. Day 4, the twins miss you. When are you coming to see them? Day 5, you're being incredibly selfish and immature. This is why you'll never have a real family of your own. Day 6, I'm getting calls from relatives asking why you're not answering them. What lies are you spreading? Day 7, a voicemail at 11:22 p.m., Mom's voice thick with what might have been wine or tears. I don't understand what I did wrong. I gave you everything. I raised you. You owe me respect. Call me back. I blocked her number. Then Melissa's. Then the extended family members who started reaching out on Mom's behalf. Rachel had advised documenting but not engaging, and that's exactly what I did. Screenshots of every message, every voicemail transcribed and saved. A paper trail in case things got uglier. They got uglier. 2 weeks after the lockout, I'd secured a new apartment, a 1-bedroom in a less desirable neighborhood but affordable. I'd also made another decision. I was going back to school. The LSAT was offered in 6 weeks. I was taking it. Amanda connected me with her firm's pro bono program coordinator, who helped me navigate options for loan rehabilitation and part-time enrollment at a less expensive law school. It would take longer, be harder, but it was possible. The day I moved into my new apartment, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs, my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Rebecca!" It was Melissa, calling from someone else's phone. "Mom's in the hospital. She had a panic attack. The doctors think it might be her heart. You need to come." The old me would have dropped everything and rushed to her bedside. The new me said, "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's. Room 412. Rebecca, please. She's asking for you." I called the hospital directly. "I'm calling about my mother, Janet Morgan, room 412. The nurse sounded confused. "We don't have a patient by that name on this floor." A pause. "No Janet Morgan in the hospital at all currently." The lie was so blatant, so desperate, that I felt something between pity and disgust. I didn't call Melissa back. I blocked the number. 3 days later, a registered letter arrived at my new address, which I hadn't given them. Mom had tracked me down somehow. The letter was typed, formal, obviously drafted with legal-sounding language copied from the internet. "Dear Rebecca, you are hereby notified that due to your abandonment of family responsibilities, you are no longer welcome at family gatherings. Your actions have caused severe emotional distress and financial hardship. The money you claim to have contributed was voluntary and constituted payment for room and board. No repayment is owed. You have shown your true character, and we want nothing further to do with you." I read it twice, then filed it carefully. Rachel reviewed it and actually laughed. "This is nonsense. Legally meaningless. But keep it. It's evidence if they escalate." The restraining order threat was empty. No contact came from lawyers. No papers arrived. It was just another manipulation tactic. The LSAT came and went. I scored 168, 92nd percentile. I applied to 3 evening programs with generous financial aid. I got accepted to my first choice with a partial scholarship that made it financially viable if I kept working full-time. Starting law school while working 45 hours a week was brutal. There were nights I subsisted on instant ramen and coffee, mornings I woke up with my face stuck to casebooks. But every exhausting moment felt like reclaiming pieces of myself I'd left behind 6 years earlier. The silence from my family was absolute for exactly 4 months. Then I got an email from the twin school account, Emma's. "Dear Aunt Rebecca, we miss you. Mommy says you don't love us anymore. Grandma says you're too busy for family. I remember when you used to read to us and make us pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. I don't understand why you don't come over anymore. Did we do something bad? Love, Emma and Ethan." The emotional manipulation through children was a new low. I showed the email to Rachel, who grimaced. "That's calculated. They're using the kids as leverage." I wanted to respond, to explain that I loved them but couldn't sacrifice myself anymore. But responding would open a door I'd carefully closed. Instead, I sent a brief message to the school counselor, explaining I was estranged from the children's family and shouldn't be contacted through school channels. The school took it seriously. The account access was revoked. But the email haunted me. Those were the kids I'd raised from infancy. Walking away from them hurt in ways I hadn't fully processed. "You can't light yourself on fire to keep them warm," Amanda reminded me gently. "Those kids have a mother. You gave Melissa 6 years to step up. She chose not to. That's not your failure." Life continued. Work, school, studying, sleep, what little I could manage. I was rebuilding myself from scratch. I paid down debt. I submitted strong work in my classes. I even started dating again. Then, 8 months after the lockout, I got a Facebook message from Marcus, Melissa's fiancé. "Hey Rebecca, I don't know if you'll read this, but I wanted you to know what's really going on. Janet and Melissa have been telling everyone you went crazy, that you stole money, that you abandoned the twins out of spite. I believed it at first, but I've been living in the basement for 3 months now, and I'm seeing things that don't add up. Janet's spending is out of control. Melissa's credit cards are maxed out. They're 2 months behind on utilities. They keep talking about how much easier everything was when you were around to help. I'm starting to think help meant something different. I'm probably going to end this engagement, but I thought you deserved to know their version doesn't match what I'm seeing. You made the right call getting out. I stared at that message for 20 minutes. Validation from an unexpected source felt strange. I responded simply, "Thank you for telling me. I hope you do what's best for yourself." The wedding was quietly canceled 2 weeks later. Marcus had left. Melissa moved back into Mom's main house. The schadenfreude I felt was brief and ultimately unsatisfying. Their chaos wasn't my victory. It was just the natural consequence of building a life on unsustainable foundations. My first year of law school ended with a 3.8 GPA and an invitation to join the law review. The accomplishment felt enormous. I'd earned this while working full-time, while living on less than $2,000 a month, while rebuilding a life my family had tried to destroy. The messages from family continued sporadically, birthday texts that went unanswered, holiday cards returned to sender. I documented them all but never responded. The narrative they built about me, unstable, ungrateful, selfish, would persist regardless of what I said. So I said nothing. I let them have their version while I lived my actual life. 3 years after that lockout, I bought my first house. Nothing fancy. A small 2-bedroom bungalow with a yard. The down payment came from a signing bonus after I'd been promoted to mid-level associate. Every financial decision was mine to make. The day I got the keys, I called the twins on video chat. Marcus had reached out carefully, and we'd negotiated monthly visits that didn't require me to sacrifice myself. They were 10 now, thriving. Emma wanted to be a veterinarian. Ethan was obsessed with dinosaurs. "Will we come visit your new house?" Emma asked. "Absolutely," I promised. "We'll make those dinosaur pancakes again." The life I'd rebuilt wasn't the one I'd imagined at 23. It was better, harder-earned, more intentional, built on foundations of genuine self-respect. I'd learned that family isn't determined by blood. It's defined by mutual respect, reciprocal care, and the willingness to see each other as whole people rather than resources to be extracted. My mother had said I was dead to her, and in a way she was right. The Rebecca who would have sacrificed everything, who would have accepted crumbs of affection in exchange for self-destruction, that Rebecca was dead. I'd killed her deliberately, choice by choice, boundary by boundary. I don't know if my mother ever understood what she lost. Probably not. People who can discard their children so easily rarely have the self-awareness to recognize the value of what they've thrown away. But that's not my problem anymore. On the 4th anniversary of the lockout, I found myself back at that same Walmart parking lot. I sat in my car, a newer model, reliable and paid off, and looked at the spot where I'd parked that night. I barely recognized the woman I'd been then. She'd been so thoroughly trained to believe her worth was measured by her usefulness to others. So convinced that boundaries were selfish and that love meant endless sacrifice. The woman I'd become knew better. She'd learned that self-preservation isn't selfishness, that you can't pour from an empty cup, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away and let people face the consequences of their own choices. My mother changed the locks and said I was dead to her. In response, I changed everything she thought she knew about me, my limits, my willingness to be used, my definition of family, my entire trajectory. I became someone she didn't recognize, someone she couldn't manipulate, someone who thrived in her absence. And if I had to choose between her version of family and my hard-won peace, I'd choose peace every single time. Have you ever been the family member who gave everything only to be discarded when you finally set boundaries? How did you rebuild your life after walking away from toxic family dynamics? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Sometimes we all need reminders that we're not alone in these experiences, and that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival.